I was told twice as hard, within the household, outside of the household. The sentiment was there. It's not necessarily to do it all the time, but just like, as, a Black young person trying to secure opportunities and, get to the next step, that I would often have to work twice as hard. I didn't necessarily see it as motivating, but there needs to be a way of telling the reality, without always speaking about just, racism and institutional racism or otherwise. And I felt like that was kind of what I understood from the statement of working twice as hard, is that you're not going to be seen as, they don't value you nearly as much as they value, your white counterparts, for example. And that's why, for example, if you look now, and it was before COVID, but this is the current statistics, that if you're a young Black male, you're 3 times more likely to be unemployed. Now it's 3 times, in some way. And I think that was just another way of almost saying that statistic. So it's, to some ways, a fact, but it's not motivating. So I think to motivate, it was just, I guess a lot of times we use entertainment and other things to really feel that struggle, internalize it, and try and turn that pain into something purposeful. But I accepted it and very much internalized it maybe in some way, because I knew that I was going up against a lot of resistance, and I was just now aware of it. So I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. I knew that if they had a chance to pick me at an interview and someone else that had equal amount of qualifications, equal amount of energy, integrity, it's going to be an interesting one. And they're probably going to choose the other person just because that person is more palatable. So I would have to do a little bit more in order to stand out. And I accepted that. And I think that is the reality at the moment. It shouldn't be, but that's the reality that I've experienced and I've seen amongst my peers.
Using the term twice as hard is a motivational response to that idea that the game is rigged. Because when you say you need to work twice as hard to get, or you need to work 3 times as hard to get what a particular group has, you're basically saying the game is rigged. But it's a way in which you provide this motivated sense that, okay, we've accepted that the game is rigged in favor of certain people, but in order for you to get further, you need to do X, Y, Z, and you need to work at much more kind of like velocity than someone else. And I was thinking about this recently because I said I wouldn't say that to my children. When I have children, I wouldn't say that to my children. I wouldn't say that to like my younger family members, because I think with it comes potentially an assessment of inferiority. Is why do I have to work twice as hard when they don't have to work twice as hard? Is it that they're better than me naturally? And there's certain questions that come like that. And I think that inferiority in some ways is compounded by where you grow up, by sometimes your family structure. If you have both parents present, your economic status, were you on free school meals? Did you grow up in low income housing, and how that even low income housing even has physical effects, right? Asthma, hypertension, all of these things that can potentially come into play. So I don't think it's a helpful term. I understand why it was said. I think there was a level of, look, this is the cards we've been dealt. It's your job to make sure that you can make something of it, right? But I think in a quest for leveling up and a more equitable society, I think those statements need to be examined a lot more thoroughly and a lot more carefully to make sure that we do provide a better context for everyone. Because I wouldn't like to participate in a society where we say to a certain group of people, you have to work twice as hard or 3 times as hard in order to achieve something that doesn't take the same amount of effort for another group, because that's woefully unacceptable and unhelpful and can breed toxic notions and potentially discontent between groups, which doesn't help the culture and doesn't help the diversity that we have managed to achieve, and we should celebrate and preserve.